Let's click on my phone. Well, hopefully you have the figure already drawn. There, now you can see the words a little bit easier. You got all that written down already? Got all that written down? And using your phone's a little risky because if I say no phones, I don't have it. Any exceptions? Got it. Football game tonight, if you didn't know, our playoff game here at home. 7:30, I think. Home. Oh yeah, dude. Gaither from Tampa. Totally. I mean, by now you should be pretty good in the playoffs. We've already. Like most people are kind of done, so we'll start talking about it. So, I think this is a very easy lesson from a concept standpoint. Nah, we'll go back to doing some algebra in here like we were doing before when we solved out problems. This is not so much like a little plus little equals big thing, but it's the same math. The concept is different, but you'll wind up doing some of the same math. So here's what you need to know. When we have, and it doesn't even have to be parallel lines. We'll talk about that in a minute. Anytime you have two lines and they kind of get crossed by another line, the names of the angles are always the same, or the name of the line is the same. So I'm not really going through and doing when we don't have parallel lines, when these lines are not parallel, because everything's the same. The only thing that changes is the fact that when the lines are parallel, it creates some specific relationships between the angles, and then you can do some math. So I'm just going to skip straight to the math stuff. But again, understand all these names would be the same if the lines weren't parallel. We just wouldn't be able to do the same math that we're going to do in a minute. Yeah, all right, so that's all. So let's go ahead and now we'll talk about the names. So when you have, so if you'll, oh, here now I do need to see. Oh man, sometimes it clicks on it, sometimes it doesn't. All right, so first thing I want you to notice is there's one that says interior, one that says exterior. That's always referring to where it is regarding, like in relation to the parallel line. Where would you say would be interior if we're talking about these two red lines? What would be the interior? Like in between them, right? Inside the red lines would be interior. So that's the first thing. Again, I think that's pretty logical. So that's the interior, which will help you get the names straight so that you're not confused between memorizing all these. So exterior then would be angles that are outside of those parallel lines. So that's the first thing that will help you remember what the angles are named. Oh, we always talk about this in relation to only two angles. You're always just comparing two at a time. So remember that too. Don't, because sometimes you're going to get confused and think that you would say 3 or 4 angles are interior, alternate interior angles. So it's not, you can't do that. You got to just compare two at a time. So now, what did we say alternate means, or alternate? In English, we said it means kind of go back and forth. Now, this is a little bit of a stretch from that, but I'll tell you what it means relative to this. Alternate means, oh, shoot, forgot to tell you this. This line here that's cutting through the other two lines, or even this line down here, same thing. That line and this line. I'll get out of the way in a second. Ah, why are you going all the way up there? Wow, that was crazy. Jumped all the way off the screen. Seriously? I don't know if it's my projector or my cords or what. This thing all messed up lately. Never works. Well, it's supposed to say transversal. I fixed that. Let's see if I can see if it works now. Oh, still doesn't work. All right, here. Sometimes if I write in a different part of the board, it actually works. So let's try that. Nope, still going way up there. Okay, let's do this. Drives me crazy. I just don't get it. Be fine forever. All right, so it's called the transversal. So this line right here, bring it top of the page. I'm gonna have to try to. I gotta fix that one. I will not be able to get through the lesson today without at least be a little better than that. So it's called the transversal. It's the line that cuts through the other two lines, basically. So you just want to draw a picture or an arrow to that line that doesn't have to be going up and down. So keep that in mind. The two parallel lines could be going up and down, and then the transversal could be going left and right. It would still be the transversal. Make sure you understand. It's the one line that cuts through the other two lines. So this is also the transversal here, that line. So alternate means opposite sides of the transversal. So one angle is on the left, one angle is on the right. So that's how you remember the alternate part. So opposite sides of the transversal. So one angle will be on the left, one will be on the right. You'll see, I think, when I show you these. So for example, give me two angles that are alternate angles. Got two angles that are alternate angles. One's on one side of the transversal, one's on the other side. Any two right now. And we'll merge that together with interior. You're not sure, just say not sure. So 5 and 6 are alternate angles, right? 5 is on the left, 6 is on the right. Those are alternate angles. Just really quickly, okay. I'll go with Kyle. Give me two more that are alternate. Now, again, we don't consider these when I say two more. We would never, you're only talking two angles at a time. So these have nothing to do with the next two angles. And I mean, I guess you could still pick either 5 or 6, but give me two angles that are alternate angles. One and what? 3 and 4 would be. Again, we're kind of picking ones right next to each other, it looks like. So those are alternate angles. Now, here's the thing. We need to now merge that concept with either interior, exterior to come up with what those two terms mean. So, Leslie, you tell me now two angles that are alternate angles, but they're also interior angles. They're both. They're alternate and they're interior. So alternate would mean on opposite sides, and interior would mean where? We say interior ones. So give me two angles that are on opposite sides of the transversal, so opposite sides of that, but in between the red lines. Parallel line. Say it, do it. Don't be scared. Well, so 6 is interior, but is on the opposite side of 4. So give me, so we can start with 6. 6 is interior. But now you need one on, it's still interior, but on the opposite side of the transversal. Only one. You can. 4 is not on the opposite side. So, well, 2 is not interior. There's actually 2, but one of them's wrong. I mean, I guess it's correct with what I told you. 3. So again, it can't be 5. 5, even though it is on the opposite side, they can't be adjacent. So just remember, they can't be adjacent. They can't be next to each other. The reason is they have the same measure. 5 does not have the same measure as 6. So alternate interior means opposite sides of the transversal inside the lines. And the third thing that means it has to be 3 and not 5, they have to have the same measure also. And 5 does not have the same measure as 6. So it's got to be 3. So 3 and 6 are alternate interior angles. Jessica, what else are alternate interior? I think you said 5 and 4. So 4 and 5, 5 and 4 are also alternate interior, but they are only alternate interior with each other. So 5 and 4 are alternate interior, and then 3 and 6 are alternate interior. We would never compare 5 to 3 or 6 to 4. So hopefully, if you're getting that concept, the next concept should be pretty simple. What about alternate exterior? Mia, give me an alternate X. So again, alternate's still going to mean the same thing. One's on one side, one's on the opposite. But now we need them to be outside the red lines. 7 and 2 are correct. So 7 and 2, again, they can't be right next to each other. So I can't pick 8. That would be a linear pair. 7 and 8 are a linear. Oh, what's up? Hurry, I'm right in the middle of the lesson. We got to go fast. If you go in that cabinet, well, you may not like it, but if you go in the cabinet in the red basket, there might be like a green Nature Valley bar or something. All right, so give me another one, Esteban. 7 and 2 were alternate exterior. They're on opposite sides of the transversal. They have, they're outside the red line, so they're exterior. And they have the same measure. Again, they have to have the same measure. All this is only true, by the way, if the lines are parallel. None of this would be true for that other figure I drew. Only if the lines are parallel. So did you give me the other two? 1 and 8 are also alternate exterior angles. 1 and 8 are alternate, opposite sides, exterior, outside the parallel lines, and they have the same measure. All right, see you. Any questions on that name? There is an IXL. I'm just naming, so if you're not getting this, you can just start in the IXL. It's just about naming. Let's see. Oh, linear pair we've done before really quickly. What's a linear pair? We did that when we did proofs and before. They were still alternate exterior. Just they were there's always 2 pairs of alternate interior and 2 pairs of alternate exterior. Because these are alternate interior, but so are these. These are alternate exterior, but so are these. So there's always 2 pairs. That was still the same. All right, so let's go to core. Actually, I forgot the course. Oh, real quick, how do I know those lines are parallel? Like just because they don't touch in the figure doesn't mean they're parallel. They might like eventually touch later outside because a line goes on forever. How does in math, how do we tell you that lines are parallel? Symbol we talked about one day. Yeah, get off your phone. Oh, that's one reason we haven't talked about that yet, but that is, or maybe we did. Those tell you they're parallel right there. That's the main one you'll see in this kind of a lesson. Maria. Texting and telling you're busy. Texting up. Oh. So there's another way they might. So let's say this was line M. I'm sorry, line L and M. They might do this. Remember, we said that symbol means parallel. There was another symbol that was like an upside down T that was perfect. Yeah, that's an L. It's supposed to be a cursive L. Got it. But if I put that symbol there, that's also telling you that the two lines are parallel. And then they might just tell you in the problem, they might just say line M is parallel to line. But this is the big one you'll see in this type of drawing. They'll often just put little arrows right on the line like that. Say they're parallel. And it might just be one pair. It might not be a second pair over there. So anytime you see that, that's what it's telling you. All right, so the last one, which probably is the most difficult one, but if you understand, vertical angles, real quick, what's vertical angles? Nyla, what's vertical angles? What are vertical angles? We did it? Yeah. I'm going to give you credit for that. Peace, son. Vertical angles are across from each other. So if two lines intersect, vertical angles are across from each other, and they have the same measure. Vertical angles, actually all of the ones we've talked about. Alternate interior have the same measure. Alternate exterior have the same measure. Vertical angles have the same measure. Actually, all of these, I put them all in the same section because all of these are equal to each other. Let me at least finish corresponding because that's probably the toughest one out of all of them. And then wait until I at least go over consecutive interior. That's one we've never done before. So vertical all have the same measure. So 4 and 1 are vertical angles. They have the same measure. They're across from each other. So the last one on this side, again, these angles are all same measure with each other. Corresponding angles are a little trickier. There's nothing that really, like I can't really explain it in a definition of corresponding that's going to help you, at least not that I can think of. So just, they are on the same side. So for corresponding, you can write same side, unlike alternate, which are opposite sides. So corresponding is same side. They do have the same measure. Like I said, same measure. They cannot be adjacent. They can't be next to each other. So this right here, if I need another angle on the same side, really same side, same measure is all you really. So 4 clearly doesn't have the same measure as 2. So if I have to have same side, same measure, 4 can't be corresponding. 8 can't be corresponding because again, 8 doesn't have the same measure as 2. There's really only one option for. I mean, it was just working. We fix that though. Maybe. Really? It's board dry. Now it's not even. It's stuck on like text mode or something. There we go. There. So those are corresponding. 4 and 8 would also be corresponding. Again, same side and same measure. Really all you need for corresponding. Same side, same measure. If you can't tell if they're the same measure though, like if this line was a little more straight up and down, you'd have to be able to figure out which two are corresponding. So don't count on being able to tell them. Why it might not hurt to do one of the IXLs real fast about naming, just to make sure you get it down. Okay, last, and then I'll let you go, and then you should know what linear pair is. Consecutive interior angles. Those are same side, different measure. So this consecutive interior, same side. Actually, I'm just going to get rid of, we'll use this since I'm working. So same side. Let's see if this works. Nope. But now we should be able to do this. So same side, so that's 6. So what would be a consecutive interior angle with 6? Same side, different measure. And it's interior. Understand? 4. So 4 would be the other one that's same side, same measure. Didn't think that was going to work, but tried it. So 4 and 6 are consecutive interior. That's the name. Now I'll tell you super fast the math part behind that. Because you have two parallel lines, you have this one line cutting through both of them. There are only two different angle measures. It's always just two numbers. There's never going to be three numbers if you have two parallel lines. So if you know one of the angles, you should be able to figure out every single angle. Because if I know angle 8, that's not going to work probably. If I know angle 8, tell me an angle I can figure out from angle 8. Using everything I just told you. What else can I tell you? What's that? Angle 8. If I know angle 8, tell me another angle I can figure out. 4 of them should be, well, 3 of them should be really good. Because the other 3 are the same with that measure. No. Angle 5 is what? I know angle 8, angle 5 is same, right? Well, aren't there 2 others that are equal to those, we said? So we did the whole alternate exterior, alternate interior. So what else is the same as 8? 1 would be the same, right? And then what would be the same as 1? 1 is the same as what? There you go. So you know 4 of them right there. They're all the same. What else can I figure out? It's easy to find the ones that are the same, but what else can I do? Kind of has to do with this, right? We say a linear pair is. Say it again. They're on the same line. So 8 and 6 are linear pairs. Oh, still couldn't do it. So 8 and 6 are linear pairs. They are on the same line right next to each other. But what did we say is true about a linear pair like that? Finish doing proofs with it. They add up to 180, right? So if I know 8 and 6 add up to 180, and if I know 8, I can, now you would have to know what angle 8 is, I guess. So you'd have to have a number. But if I know 8 plus 6 equals 180, and if I know what 8 is, then I can just subtract that number from 180, and that's what angle 6 is. So here's your short version. So you can just go ahead and start practicing. And seriously. Why did you just all of a sudden think about that? That's funny. That's too funny. Who did? Oh, so what can we say? Oh, we'll come back to that. Well, what could we do to solve for x? We can't just, they're not the same, right? X is a small angle. 137 is a big angle. We can't say they're equal. What can we do? Yeah, because what do we know? We don't have a rule that says that, but we know this angle right here. Oh, look, I guess right. That angle right there has to add up to 180 with this, right? So if we learn that that is 43, well, we then know that these are what kind of angles? X and that blue be the name of those. Yeah, they're corresponding, right? So if we know this angle, then we know this angle is corresponding to that, so they'd be the same measure. So here's your shortcut version for your axioms and just equally for everything. I knew that wasn't gonna work. When you have figures like this, I'm gonna scroll down, just tell it, well, you can kind of see it. You only have 2 options to solve, like to set up an equation. There's only 2 things you have to remember that you do. Either you set them equal to each other, because remember 4 of the angles equal each other, or you add them together and they equal 180. That's it. There's nothing else to do with figures like this. That's why I said I don't think it's super difficult. Yes, sorry, I meant to let you go when I did the other thing. So either I'm setting this here, do it this way. Either I'm setting this here equal to one of the other angles, if I'm trying to solve, like let's say I didn't have all of these angles, I only have one of them. Or I'm going to add them together and they equal 180. How do you know if you need to set them equal? Like, what would be your giveaway? Like, what based on everything we just learned? What would you'd be like, oh, why do I need to set those two equal versus I need to add them together to be 180? But I'm going to bring you back. Like the last one. How do I know that I'm going to? So let's say I said I want to solve for x, and all I have are these two angles. Oh, that's fine. Well, I wasn't even pressing the button. All I have are those two angles. How do I know that I can set those either equal to each, or whether I should set them equal, or I should add them together to be 180? How do you make that determination? Because you got to figure it out. You got to know which one to do. They are corresponding, or they might be alternate interior, they might be alternate exterior. You use those definitions. That's how you know whether or not you set them equal, because all of those were equal to each other. If it's not one of those, so if it's not one of those that are equal to each other, then you have to add them up and they would equal 180 together. Or does anybody have a better way? What's a better way? Easier way, especially if it's a drawing like this. Either you're going to set them equal or you're going to add them up and they're going to equal 180. Let me ask you this. Does the 2x plus 6, does that look like it's equal to 7x subtract 24? Do those angles look like they're the same? Does this angle down here look like it's the same as that one? Look how small that angle is. That better not look like it's the same angle as 7x. Just look at them. If one's a big fat angle and one's a skinny angle, you better not set them equal to each other. You better add those two up and make it equal 180. So if they look like they've got the same measure, if you forget your definitions and which ones are which, just look at them. If it's an easy figure like this, where you got every angle is either fat or skinny, set the fat angles equal to the fat angles. Set the skinny angles equal to the skinny angles. If one's fat and one's skinny and that's all you got, then add them together and they better equal 180. So to set up, I'll show you two different ones you would set up. So 7x equals, it's driving me crazy. There, that wasn't horrible. The x is way off. So those two are both fat angles. I'd set them equal to each other. Here, I'm going to do this because that's annoying me. These two, this skinny one and this fat one, I would add up and they would equal 180. So 7x subtract 24. Well, I'm going to add it with 2x plus 6 because 2x plus 6 is clearly not equal, right? Those are your only two options. There's nothing else you do in these figures. Nothing. Either you have to, yeah, because there's only two different. Every angle is going to have there's only two numbers you'll wind up with. Whatever the measure, because remember, this has three equal angles to it. This one, which will be this plus this, is 180. So I'm just going to throw a number in. Let's say this is 130. Well, then this has to be 50, right? Those are the only two measures in the whole figure. Because this has three other angles that are equal to it, right? Alternate exterior equal, so this is 130. Well, if this is 130, the vertical angle is 130. Well, if this is 130, the vertical angle is 130. There's only going to be two numbers. That's it. And this is going to be 50. Well, if this is 50, this is 50. Well, if this is 50, this is 50. Well, if this is 50, that's 50. There's only two numbers. That's why there's only two things you have to do. You either set them equal to each other, because those angles are equal, or you add them up and they equal 180. We're inside of the If it took too long,
Let me go out.
I'm just saying, hey, fuck them. They're the ones mad at you, not me. Toby and Jessica, so mad at you. They might not talk to you for the rest. Actually, they don't talk to you. You're all working too hard to talk to you. All right, so even though there's not a bunch of time, go ahead, go on Excel, do the naming one real quick. So at least I know we're good on the naming ones. I'll put them up on they're already recommended. I mean, if you want to jump straight, if you got the naming down and you want to jump to problems, that's fine. But let's at least get the naming out of the way and make sure you're good on that.
Which one are we going to?
It's recommended in there. I'm going to put them up on the board also, though. Actually, there they are right there. So the two in the rectangles are the solving problems. Down here is just the naming. And again, these don't necessarily have parallel lines, but the names will still be the same. So, like I said, if you really, really have this one down already, you can jump into those two where you're solving problems. Do not worry about the ones with proofs yet. We haven't done anything with proofs on these figures. I have not, well, actually, I did eat breakfast. Still weird. Yeah, I think I'm.
Your active stuff.
Right? I know I said it before, but I'll say it again. Monday is your last day. And that goes in the grade book is not technically a 0, but not good.
That's good.
No, I'm saying if you have a retake. But if you got a grade, even if it wasn't a retake, like you got a passing grade, that's still your last day to take it over. So if you decide, oh, well, I at least passed it, but then all of a sudden you get to the end of the quarter and you're a point away or a couple points away from the next highest grade, could have taken that one over. I'm not gonna do anything about a point or two away when you had a chance to take retakes all quarter long. Well, I would start with this one. Then if you're like, okay, that's boring, I'd go to one of those other two. You only have like 5 minutes.
Are they all boring anyway?
No. Most of them are super fun.
And you gotta do work, so.
It's math. I mean, come on, man. English is boring. That's why I say this one's probably boring because that's more like English. Those are math. Those are fun. Primary?
So the other ones are math related and the other ones you have to read and stuff like that, name stuff, or I'm not doing that. Those are the ones I fell on.
This is really more vocabulary. That's like English.
But you did it.
Vocabulary is kind of boring. Is this? Well,
I don't get it.
so it's the same thing. I told you sometimes the parallel lines might be, it looks like one of the very first problems I just saw, the parallel lines are up and down.
Yeah, I'm not the interior.
So again, that's looking at that way. You should- Yeah, they're not giving, it looks like some of these, they're not really giving you a number inside the angles. You have to actually know how to name them. Just remember the vertex, the pointy part, the corner, that goes in the middle. You've been going to all your classes all day long, and now you're wondering if it's skinny. Where you at? Didn't you go through 116 to 140? You get out of here at, oh, I'm sorry, you're right, 11:41. Yeah, you get out actually now.
I didn't get the practice.
That's fine.
I've got one question right.
You got, I mean, we'll probably have 2 days, because I wanted to get you that fast so we could really just practice Monday and Tuesday.
Okay.
Because Friday.
Thank you.
Ready to do it? Just take it, be taking it. Study, are you ready? Okay, let's take the first one. Did you study? But that's how I think.
Just for real, let's say, last year, whether.
Watch the video.
7 months.
What I did or just ran?
Oh, that's right.
Did you watch the one that said, you're talking about the first one?
I didn't do it whenever I was online.
Oh, that's it.
Did you watch the one that said?
I knew he had it before, but he said. he
You
just
watched
got
that one, did you
this-
do any IXL for the true value? You did? Alright, so I'll give that to you right now. Oh, that's. He wants to learn about football.
All right.
Where is that one?
I heard-
Or you want to stay for tutoring or for football?
She needs to find her insurance.
Oh, yeah, he didn't even tell me that. Oh, good.
Oh, wow. Finished again.
What's going on, girl?
You don't have to be here for you to have.
Bye, Miss again.
We got leaving?
Yeah.
I'll bring that, I keep forgetting to bring that stuff in. I'll bring that stuff in, to give you you'll have the first.
Oh, you're good. Yeah. Bring it.
That goes to Coach DiMartino. He collects all paperwork. F3, I believe. He's like the print shop classroom or something. I'm almost positive it's F3. It's like all the way at the end of the F hallway. Yeah, he's the one that signs off that all your paperwork is good. I'll hand out the paperwork packet, but I can't really say you're good. He'll check your grade. Are your grades good? That'd be a 2.0. What year? Oh, then yeah, well, what will happen for right now, you're fine no matter what, because you don't have a GPA yet. You have to finish at least one semester. But come January, they will check your GPA. Then it has to be. If you're over a 2.0, you're. Yeah, get that to him though. Now, did you fill out all this other stuff though? You gotta fill the whole packet out.
Yeah, I got it. My mom.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, so I guess, I emailed him and he never emailed me back. I still don't really understand how he checks, because there was nothing in the packet, it looked like, to put in like for insurance, like to put in a confirmation.
Yeah, that's what.
Insurance or anything like, so I don't know how he checks on that stuff. I need to talk to him about that, but just turn the packet into him. If there's something wrong with it, he'll get back to you. We're not doing it on conditioning till Tuesday, so you got. And we'll do it every Tuesday and Thursday. No. Conditioning is just going to the weight room and I'm gonna teach you how to work out, like a little bit about what the different muscles do and just kind of. Some of the girls wanted to do it last year and we can't do it during season because then football's back in spring ball, and so it's not available. So the only time we can really do it. We'll do it until the end of the semester and then we won't really be doing it next year. What's your name? Say it again. Obviously you signed in and everything when you got the packet. I'm sure I saw it, but we had like 70 girls sign up, so we're live. All right. Probably actually out.